Hi, this is Vicki with My Paper Connection. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, and look at this card. Love, love, love it. I love mason jars. I love flowers. I love stonework and tapestry work, carpentry, I don't know what you would call it, woven. Oh, there's a word, woven. I'm so silly. And I love all these gorgeous colors. And I love fun folds. So this is a day of love for Vicki. Anyway, look at this. It's a beautiful, beautiful, elegant gatefold. I mean, this just, it feels like a warm house that you want to just go into, right? Oh, love it. The other thing I love is this paper. This is the In Good Taste paper, and I am having so much fun with it. I am going to create this card using jars of flour and cherry cobbler and all these beautiful colors. And so without further ado, I want to get started. Actually, before we do that, I did want to show you, I am having a July online card class to go. And so if you like butterflies and you like online card classes, this would be a wonderful card class to join. And you don't have to be local because I can ship the card kits to you. If you would like more information about this, just see my website at the top. There's actually a blog post about it, and message me. Okay, now for real, without further ado, let's get started playing. My card base is cherry cobbler, and it is cut at 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and it is scored, oh, I want to say it's scored at, hold on, I can tell you. I thought I wrote this down and I didn't, but it's scored at 2 3/4 on each side. Rather than doing the math, I just flip it over and then do it again. And here's a little tip. If you're new at stamping and making cards, you can see the little indentation where I scored it. Can you see that? That's called the valley. The valley goes on the inside. The mountain goes, the valley goes on the outside. The mountain, which is the ridge created when you actually do the scoring, goes on the inside. So, just going to go ahead and burnish it. And I want it to be burnished really well because I want it to lay flat as possible. This is another little tip for you, and I didn't do it this time, praise goodness, but sometimes when you're scoring, your tick marks where you're scoring them at, your lines, maybe you can get them off just a little bit, and then it would cause this to overlap. If that's the case, just use your trimmer and just trim a very minute section off until you get it to where it will close without having a big gap there in the middle, okay? The next color I'm going to be using is Sahara sand. This is the next layer that we'll layer on top of here. This is 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. Now you don't have to worry about writing all this down because it will all be in my blog. And you cut 2 pieces of this, and then you take your designer series paper, which is actually 2 1/2 by 4, and you're just going to layer that on top. And I liked the idea of not having matching paper. Well, it does match, that's not what I mean, of not having identical paper. I liked the idea of having something that just complemented each other. And I liked that this was a stonework and this was a woven piece. Okay, so here's my other piece, and I'm going to go ahead and get that glued on. Okay, we're going to go ahead and glue this onto the front of our card, and then we'll get our stamping done. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that you have you want it to have the equal amount of sides of the cherry cobbler showing. And I just gooshed out glue everywhere. When I get done with this, I'll have to use my hand sanitizer to clean my hands. Ugh, so pretty. Okay, I showed this on my last video. Hand sanitizer, people. It's for more than just killing COVID. It will actually take the glue off of your hands when you're working. I've actually started keeping a bottle of it next to my workspace. The next thing I'm going to do is to get my stamping done. I'm bringing in my flour and some black memento ink, and I'm just going to ink it up. And you'll notice that I have my flour laying with the image side up. And the purpose of that is because it's a fairly large stamp and it's almost bigger than the stamp pad, so it's easier for me to just ink it up like that and know that I got all of the sides done. All right. Then I'm going to bring in my jar, my mason jar. I'm going to ink it up, and I'm going to bring it right down here. Like that. I love that sound. Love that sound. Okay, the last bit of stamping that I'm going to do is to bring in some Pool Party. This stamp has the same images as that if you do it the right side up. I have actually flipped it upside down, and it is a two-sided, both of these are two-sided stamps. And I'm going to stamp off right here, and then I'm just going to come, oh wow, it looks like I had, you see that spot? I had a piece of debris on there. So let me try that again. Well, goodness, I got debris all over the place. And that's how I get ink all over my fingers, y'all. There we go, much better. Now I'm going to use the second generation of that ink and do it right there. And that's the perfect shade. And as you can see, that's a great way to get different colors from your ink pad. The next thing I'm going to do is to do my coloring. And I'm going to use the combos of Cherry Cobbler, Petal Pink, Old Olive, and Seaside Spray. I'll start out with the lighter on all the images, and then I'll come back in the different areas that I feel like need to be accented, and I will color those, and then I'll come back with the light. And I'm not going to talk in the middle of it, okay? I will say this one thing. Before you actually start coloring, it's a good idea to really look at your image and make sure, see there's a large area right there, and that could very well be conceived or perceived to be a petal, but I don't think it is. And it could be either this flower or it could be that flower. I think it might be this flower, and I don't think that I colored it before because I kind of liked having the break in between it. And so, I don't know, we'll see where the wind blows on that one this time. But it's a good idea to take a good look at your picture before you actually start coloring so that you don't go over things that you shouldn't. As you can see, I'm just going around. These are pretty large, so I'm just going around the petals. I don't want to do the entire thing because I don't want it to be completely dark. But there's some areas like these small little pieces right in here that I do want all of it to be accented with that dark color. And it'll lighten up a little bit as it dries. Now I'm going to go over the dark that I added with the light and just blend it in. Okay, while I have my Cherry Cobbler out, I'm going to go ahead and hit up these little berries as well. I love these blends because they have the brush tip or the bullet point, and you're able to get finer areas. And as you noticed earlier, I outlined around, and it was a lot easier to stay within the lines using that bullet point. Okay, now I'm going to bring in the Petal Pink. I got a little too close to my lines there with the Cherry Cobbler, so I'm just going to kind of blend them in using my Petal Pink. And I went ahead and I did color that piece, and I think I'm going to like it like that. I'm bringing in just a little bit of light Mango Melody to do the centers of these flowers. Then I'll blend it all together once I get the dark Petal Pink in there. I'm also bringing in just a little bit of the Rococo Rose, and I'm making, it's the light of the two, the light Rococo Rose. I'm just going to put just a little bit around the So Saffron. No, not so saffron, light mango melody. Now I'm going to blend that all together using my light petal pink. The next color I'm going to use is the soft sea foam. And I'm just going to do these eucalyptus in that color. Lastly, I'm going to use my old olive and outline these. Then I'm going to come over with my dark old olive. And then blend with the light. I kind of feel like I want just a little bit more color in these flowers. So I'm just going to do it just ever so slightly right in there. And I think I got this a little darker than I wanted it to be. So to fix that, I'm going to use my chalk marker. I'm going to go over the line where it bled through. I'm just going to kind of just create a little bit of highlight with my chalk marker. And that doesn't look like it's going to be because I'm actually going to use my Wink of Stella now. And I'm just going to kind of go around my flower somewhat. I really should have started with my lighter color and then went to the dark, but it's okay. I just wiped it off. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is to cut out or punch out my jar while I'm letting that dry just a little bit. And I'm going to fussy cut that, but I'm going to give it a second, and I'm going to go and cut out the pieces that I need for right here. So I'll be right back. I have my pieces cut out. This is from Layering Ovals, and this is from Tasteful Labels. It bundles with Tasteful Textiles, I think. I'm going to just go ahead and cut this out. I'm going to fussy cut around it. And again, I've shared this tip before, but if you keep your elbow in and you just keep your hand straight, you guide your paper around your scissors rather than guiding your scissors around your paper. And it helps me to keep my elbow kind of tucked into my waist, and then I won't be tempted to do this number. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put our card together, and I'm just going to glue my layering oval to this beautiful label. Isn't that a beautiful shape? And this cherry cobbler, y'all, is just delicious. Love it. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and place it onto my card. And the way I'm going to do that is to use dimensionals. And I'm going to look about halfway. I'm going to put my finger here right about the points. And I'm just going to put them along these edges here because I don't want them to show. Okay, maybe one right there. I'm going to place it right here in the middle like that. So you don't want your that's almost too close. You don't want your dimensional to show. All right, so now I'm just going to glue on my jar. And yes, my jar is a lot bigger than it needs to be, but I tried a trick here where I stamped the big jar and then I stamped the small jar around it and then just cut it out or punched it out, cutting it small. But I really didn't like the way it turned out. It was too fat in this area right here. Okay, so now I'm going to place dimensionals on the back of my flower. place my, well, before I do that, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to take my scalloped lace. This isn't, and I don't think I told you that I was using Very Vanilla. This is a Very Vanilla color, and I'm just going to create a very small little bow. So the way I do that is I make a bunny ear, and then I just whip it through the hole there. And I'm just going to pull it down to be a tiny little bow. Then I'm just going to trim. Before I do that though, I'm going to use my glue dots. I'm like the glue dot queen. I'm just going to place a glue dot. Let's see where I'm going to have this be. I'm going to place it right about here. And then I'll go ahead and place this in place. About like this. Ooh, hold on. We don't want that dimensional to show. So let me tuck it a little bit further down. There we go. All right, so now I can just trim this off, and I want it to hang a little bit, so pull it down to about right here. And I find it easier, this is another tip for you, I find it easier to really tweak that bow and get the ends cut off whenever it's glue dotted, if that's a word, down to your project. That's a little too long. Because sometimes you'll have a little bit of trouble trimming the edges of it if it's not secured in place somewhere. Very last thing I'm going to do is to stamp a sentiment. And oh, I do have to put the inside on. And I'm using the sentiment from the Lovely You stamp set that says Just Because. And I'm going to place it on Sahara sand. Just like that. That might be a little wonky. Let's try that again. Flip it over. That's better. And then I'm just going to trim it down. Then I'm going to use a dimensional or two to pop this up. And I'm going to place it right about here because, well, I guess I have to take the backs off, don't I? I'm going to place it right about here because I actually want it to catch up under that so that it just kind of closes shut. See? Like that. Okay? All right, so let's do the inside and we will be done. I'm using a piece of Very Vanilla, and I'm just going to use a piece of scrap that was cut off while I was cutting paper for the card project. And I'm just going to place it right in here. It's actually the width of the card base itself. I just think it's a really nice decoration for the inside of it. It still leaves plenty of space. Okay, those are my beautiful projects. I absolutely love them. I think I did a better job coloring this one, if I'm being honest. But you know what? Anybody that receives this would be very happy to receive it and think that it's a beautiful card. I just tend to be a little nitpicky about myself and about the things that I do because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. But you know what? Those that receive these beautiful cards, they don't see imperfections. They just see the thoughtfulness behind it. And so I encourage you to be easy on yourself, just like I am going to be easy on myself. This is handmade, not Hallmark. And it's not perfect, but it's gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. Flaws and all, it's so gorgeous. And so anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you learned some things with the new tips. And I would love to see your thumbs up and hear your comments or answer your questions. And also, if you're interested in being part of my Beauty Abounds July online class to go, the deadline for signing up and prepaying is July 10th. And I would love to have you be a part of my class. If you have questions about that, just message me. Click my website there and hit contact me and just let me know whatever questions that you have. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you will, if you haven't already, you'll hit subscribe and ring the bell so you'll get notice when other videos come out. Again, thank you. Have a great day. Bye.